Hi, welcome to Bobby Cinema Theater. I'm Bobby Cinema. You can call me BC. Today's September 21st and my 34th week of my webcast live at Bobby Cinema. Released the new movies and DVDs that's out this week, where I make my final grade on the movie out this week. Go to my website where you can read the plot and watch the movie trailer. The first movie out this week in theaters is Lakeview Terrace, starring Samuel L. Jackson, Kerry Washington, and Patrick Wilson. Directed by Neil LaBute, produced by Will Smith, and by Screen Gems and Overbrook Entertainment. I took this film. I recommend people watch this movie in theaters. This is like fighting for civil rights and an interracial who's trying to fight back against a racist George Jefferson cop in LA. Patrick Wilson, Kerry Washington, and Samuel L. Jackson, and he's touring performance in this film. My hat's off to him. I grade this movie a B-. The next movie out this week is The Duchess, starring Keira Knightley and Ralph Fiennes, directed by Sal Deb, produced by Michael Kunn, and produced by Paramount Vantage. I took this film. I recommend people watch this movie in theaters. This movie shows drama and compassion in this movie. Keira Knightley makes strong performance in this movie. My hat's off to her. I grade this movie a B-.
Action.
The next movie out this week is Appaloosa, starring Ed Harris, Viggo Mortensen, and Renee Zellweger. Written, directed, and produced by Ed Harris, and produced by New Line Cinema. I took this movie, and I recommend people watch this movie in theaters. Ed Harris, Viggo Mortensen, and Renee Zellweger made an extraordinary performance in this movie. My hat's off to them. I grade this movie a B. The next movie out this week is My Best Friend's Girl, starring Jason Biggs, Dane Cook, and Kate Hudson. Directed by Howard Hughes, produced by Adam Mersey, and produced by Lionsgate. I took this film. I recommend people watch this movie in theaters. Jason Biggs and Dane Cook made an extraordinary performance in this film. My hat's off to them. One actress I don't recommend in this movie is Kate Hudson. She is the worst person ever acted in this movie. The director should have gotten a better actress for this film besides her. I grade this movie a B-. The next movie out this week is Ghost Town, starring Rick Garvas and Greg Kinnear. Written and directed by Dave Cope and produced by Gavin Polone and produced by DreamWorks Pictures and Spyglass Entertainment. I took this film. I recommend people watch this movie in theaters. Rick Kinnear and Tina Leone made an extraordinary performance in this movie. My hat's off to them. I grade this movie an A-. That's all the movies that are out this week. The next movie out on DVD this week is Maid of Honor, starring Patrick Dempsey and Michelle Monaghan, directed by Paul Whelan and produced by Neil H. Moritz, and produced by Columbia Pictures. I took this film. I recommend people watch this movie on DVD. This movie is like my best friend's wedding, and Patrick Dempsey is like the male Julia Roberts in this movie. Patrick Dempsey and Michelle Monaghan made an extraordinary performance in this movie. My hat's off to them. Michelle Monaghan has the greatest resemblance of Smallville's Kristen Krug and How I Met Your Mother's Kobe Smulders. I grade this movie a B. The next movie out this week is Speed Racer, starring Emil Hirsch, written, directed, and produced by the Wachowski brothers, and produced by Warner Brothers. I took this film. I don't recommend people watch this movie in theaters. They should get better writers and better actors for this film. Grade this movie a D-. That's all the movies are out this week. That's all the time we have today. Come back next week. We're going to do the new movies out this week and on DVD. Don't forget to log into my website where you can look into my new trailers, play my movie trivia, and my puzzle. This is BC. See you next week. Now get out. All right. So this is the action.
Action.
Hi, welcome to Bobby Cinema Theater. Welcome to Bobby Cinema Theater. This is BC. This is my 51st week live on my webcast on May 24th, 2009, where I introduced the new movies and DVDs out this week. Don't forget to log into my website where you can read the plot, where you can read the trailer, play my movie trivia, and my puzzle. The first movie out this week is Terminator Salvation, starring Christian Bale and Bryce Dallas Howard. This movie is directed by MCG, produced by Derek Anderson, and produced by Warner Brothers and Columbia Pictures. I took this film. I recommend people watching this movie in theaters. Christian Bale and Bryce Dallas Howard make an extraordinary performance in this movie. My hat's off to them in this movie. I grade this movie a B-. The next movie out this week is Night of the Museum, Battle of the Smithsonian, starring Ben Stiller. This movie is directed and produced by Sean Levy and produced by 20th Century Fox and 1492 Films. I took this film. I recommend people watch this movie on theaters. Ben Stiller makes extraordinary performance in this movie, and the technology they bring to this movie was excellent. My hat's off to him. I grade this movie a B-. The next movie out this week is Dance Flick, starring Shoshana Bush. This movie is written, directed, and produced by Damien Dante Wayans, distributed by Paramount Pictures. I took this film. I don't recommend people watch this movie in theaters. This is the worst movie I've ever seen since watching superhero movie. They should get better writers and better actors for this film. Grade this movie a D+.
Okay, bye.
Okay. The next movie out this week is The Easy Virtue, starring Jessica Biel and Colin Firth. This movie is written and directed by Stephen Elliott, produced by James E. Stern, and produced by Yelling Studios and Path. I took this film. I recommend people watch this movie in theaters. Jessica Biel made extraordinary performance in this movie. My hats off to her in this movie. I grade this movie a B-. The next movie out this week is The Girlfriend Experience, starring Sasha Grey. This movie is directed by Steve Soderbergh, produced by Mark Cuban, and produced by Magnolia Pictures. I took this film. I recommend people watch this movie in theaters. Sasha Grey made an extraordinary performance in this movie. My hats off to her. Grade this movie a B.
Okay.
That's all the movies out in theaters this week. The first movie out this week on DVD is Paul Blart's Mall Cop, starring Kevin James. This movie is directed by Steve Hart, written and produced by Kevin James, and produced by Columbia Pictures and Happy Masson. I took this movie. I recommend people watch this movie on DVD. Kevin James makes extraordinary performance as Paul Blart, Mall Cop. Paul Blart was the same guy Kevin James is in real life as a hero. Kevin James does have the action star image, and as well as comedy. He would have been the perfect guy for my script, Kevin Librarian Agent. I would pick out for him to play. Kevin James did an excellent job in this movie. My hats off to him. So is Jamie Mays, who played her love interest in this movie. I grade this movie a B+. The next movie out this week is Valkyrie, starring Tom Cruise. This movie is directed by Bryan Singer, produced by Chris Lee, and produced by Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer. I took this film. I don't recommend people watch this movie. I recommend people watch this movie on DVD. This is the best movie I've seen since watching Meat Train. They should get better actors and better. He did a great job in this movie. My hats off to him. I grade this movie a B+. That's all the movies out this week. Come back next week where I introduce new movies and DVDs out this week. Don't forget to log on my website where you can watch the movie trailers, rate the plot, and play my movie trivia and my puzzle. This is BC. See you next week. Now get out.